NetSuite. Thanks for joining us. My name is Travis Perkins with Protelo, and my colleague and I, CJ Limeries, will be delivering the content. I'll do the front end, and CJ will swoop in about midway and complete the webinar. So let's get started. Thanks for joining us. A little bit about Protelo and our team. We have an extensive functional and technical team. If you've been with us before on webinars, you probably realize just a little bit of some bragging. We have experts in every industry on our team. Our goal is to help customers grow in their business processes within NetSuite. We also have a really great team on the technical side in addition to the functional side. So if you're already working with us, technically we build out a lot of integrations and customizations to NetSuite to help our clients with their business processes, and then the same thing on the functional side. We also cover everything NetSuite. So let's continue moving forward here. So a little bit about the overview of what we'll cover today. I want to talk about first the release preview. I'll let you read through the rest down to number 7. The next slide, I want to cover what the importance to me, and this is my opinion based on my experience. This is an opportunity for me to plug the release preview piece of NetSuite. So with your licensing, you have access to release preview. You might not get the email notification that you can sign up for it, so check with your administrator. And it's a rolling access. Your upgrade is the same thing. It's a rolling upgrade. So not everybody gets upgraded at the same time. And why I'm telling you that is because that means not everybody has the release preview available to them at the same time. So everyone who is participating on this webinar, for instance, like ours, will be in about 4 weeks from now. However, as an administrator to the system, I'll receive an email giving me an opportunity to sign up for the release preview. And when I do that, then NetSuite will allow and open up a completely separate instance of my NetSuite production environment, but it's called RP, and you'll see it when you hover over your name and you sign up for it, you'll see it. And RP, for release preview, you can sign into that instance and work with it, that instance. It's not your production, but it's a copy of, and it's a completely separate instance. So the reason why I'm telling you this, just to extend on that, is if you don't do any testing with any of your in any of your functional areas within NetSuite using release preview, it's there to do that before your production environment actually is upgraded. So that if you have some customizations in there, if you have some questions and you want to vet out processes, you can do that in release preview. Now, specifically, if you don't have a sandbox and the only system you have is your production instance, the release preview gives you a huge advantage for that 4 or 6 week duration that you have it. You can go in there and test things that maybe you just haven't had time to do or taken the opportunity to do. You can do those in release preview. You could break the system. You could enable features, disable features, and see what happens. Those are opportunities to use with the release preview. So that's my plug on utilizing it, because it is really that temporary sandbox before your system gets upgraded. But it'll have everything in there, and it is the upgraded version of what your system will be. All right, so enough on that. Let's continue forward. Oops, let's go forward instead. So I have a lot of clients that ask me about this Close Manager dashboard portlet. They've seen it either looking through Suite Answers, they received an email communications on it. And I would like to take this opportunity to describe what it is and what it means in environments for folks who don't have this second bullet point, EPM, the close management and the consolidated licensing, that's the key word in NetSuite. So Close Manager actually is, in this regard, coupled to an additional feature that you would require licensing to use. So if you don't have it, Close Manager is not available to be used in your instance. Now check if you are the administrator or you know what your licensing is and you already are using the installation of the NetSuite EPM connector suite app, then you would have access to use a close manager. Now, EPM is a different, it's a separate system that integrates with NetSuite. It is a NetSuite product. So anyways, what I wanted to do is just let you know, Close Manager is not like a native dashboard portlet that they're just offering that you can enable and start using. It requires other licensing. I show just a brief screenshot here of it. I was able to log into a release preview that had it, so just a quick screenshot on it. It looks like it could be very extensive and usable. I don't have experience with it, but this is similar to what you would see if you had the EPM connector and suite app. So I just wanted to describe that. Sorry, I keep hitting the back button. Let's continue on to the consignment inventory management piece. This, I think, is a big win for clients who have had the need for consignment. We have done over the years customizations for clients in NetSuite to make it more of a consignment-based functionality. And now NetSuite is turning around and offering this consigned inventory management piece with 2026.1. And I think that's fantastic. We have many clients that could benefit from this, or they may augment what we put in for them as far as the customization as they migrate to this consignment management piece. So a little bit about it, right? So previously you had to fake that consignment by using zero cost items, dummy locations, or complex workarounds. And now really what's happening is NetSuite's incorporating it into the system so you can proactively age and buy back inventory. And so really what's nice about that, the biggest part, what I think is nice about that is your financial aspect, that the impact of your real-time COGS alignment. So where NetSuite is really in this consignment inventory management piece, they're accurately recording the cost of goods sold during consumption and ensuring financial precision without those manual journal entries. And that's what our clients have had to do, right? And if this is resonating with you because you have a consignment type business model or a part of your business is consignment, then you realize how now NetSuite is really coming to the response of that and incorporating this functionality in NetSuite, which I think is pretty cool. Let's see here. So let's go to the next one. What I wanted to identify here is, and you can do this too if you already have release preview, or you will be able to see it here soon because you'll sign up to access it. What I was wondering when I was reading through and researching it is, where are the actual visual enhancements to it? So you'll see those on the vendor record, on the item record. One thing to note, and when I went to actually incorporate the consignment, and these screenshots here on the right-hand side of actually enabling consigned inventory management in the system, is I was using a system that had both WMS and assembly items. And that upper screen that kind of is grayed out, maybe it's a little challenging to see, is it's giving me a warning. So if you are using assembly items or WMS, NetSuite currently isn't allowing you to enable that consignment piece. So, but it's coming. I'm sure they'll continue to make enhancements to that as they continue to grow it. But the current offering with 2026.1 incorporates those the consignment inventory management piece. So good stuff. What I want to do is talk about SCM Mobile and the NetSuite WMS if you are using either. First, indicating here on the right-hand side, that screenshot, it's a screenshot within a screenshot. When I was working in systems that had the capability of enabling the print node or print to file functionality in 2026.1, I really just wasn't seeing it. And then I did is I went and explored to look and see what the SCM mobile version was. Now I don't have access to that system to actually do the upgrade, but I wanted to identify in your system, if you're able to do this in your release preview, is to search and install that bundle to upgrade it. And you can see that the version that I was in the release preview had 2025.2.1. If I took the opportunity or had the opportunity to get it to 2026.1, then I'd be able to show you additional screenshots with that functionality in here. And so that's going to be a theme here on these next few slides where you'll just need to recognize that SCM Mobile will need to be upgraded in addition to your 2026.1 just to make sure they follow along and you are able to take advantage of these additional features. So the top portion of the screen where it says mobile settings, that's actually a screen where you would see this print to file, no print node required in that screen, but it's not there because I don't have the ability to upgrade that for at least this slide and for this conversation, this webinar today. But I wanted to point out that piece. Let's talk about the print node requirements. So no print node required. I think this is a big hit too, because if you're already using the SCM Mobile or the NetSuite WMS pieces, you're on a handheld device and you have limited functionality, you have had limited functionality in being able to print. Now you don't need to set up necessarily, I'm not saying get rid of what you already have in the process, but now going forward, you can print to a file and later download that or push it to your, it'll automatically actually go to your file cabinet without needing the overhead of setting up a whole print node. And if you've done that for your current configuration, you know there's a little bit involved there. Well, they're removing that aspect of it, so now you can just print to a file without needing to set up a print node. So I wanted to point that out. I thought that was a big win. Moving on, still in that SCM Mobile WMS area, the auto receive landed costs. This is also a big deal because now folks who are not connected with sitting down at a computer and they're working remotely on a scanner or whatever, out in their warehouse or out in the yard, you have the ability to set those landed costs during receivings, and these are rules in the system in NetSuite. Once you enable those rules, then you have the ability to do landed cost settings through the app, and that only applies to transactions that use landed cost allocations per line. So if you also use the estimated landed cost feature, you can choose an associated landed cost template for each item line instead. So historically, if you are using landed cost, you know that that was a function of maybe the finance department once everything was received in and it was a downstream process. Landed cost and by the way, just landed cost, right, being freights, duties, fees, etc., were often handled by the finance team after the warehouse received those goods. Now the warehouse can actually manage this and do it on a per line basis. And that's what this auto receive landed cost functionality is offering. And let's continue on. So I really, again, I appreciate these enhancements. Working with clients who have these types of features and functionalities incorporated in their processes, I think these are some pretty big gains to make. So then let's talk about that IR posting enhancements. And I'm going to go back. I think, did I miss one? No, I didn't. Okay. So the IR posting enhancements, the same thing. These are rules within WMS, and when active, if you activate the manually post item receipts rule, then you can post receipts for one or more item lines through the app. So after you partially or fully receive at least one item, the post item receipt option appears on the inner item mobile page. So before you generate a receipt, you can review all items and quantities included. Again, not having to go back to a computer for that additional functionality. Now it's on the mobile app as you're working throughout the day. So through this option on the app, you can't add more items or quantities from the same transaction to existing item receipts. You need to do that from the actual the NetSuite user interface and not the mobile app. And then one more, the reversal of inbound shipments. Same thing. within the NetSuite UI, you can reverse the receiving of the inbound shipments processed through the app, even if item receipts haven't been posted yet. So for each inbound shipment, you can choose the associated fully or partially received purchase order lines to reverse. Now, note, this is a quantity, there's a quantity limitation, so you can't specify quantities to reverse and it's either per item line or per order. So the app may adjust received quantities after you reverse the inbound shipment, regardless of whether the item receipts have been posted. So just be aware that functionality tested out. So when you get 2026.1 and you decide, to enable this aspect of it, it's available for you to use. Let's see here. Oh, so I noticed there was a question, and I want to show, just in case you're not familiar with the rules. So here on my screen, I'm showing NetSuite and the WMS system rules list. So when I was referring to the rules for these additional features with 2026.1, if you're not familiar, or you're saying, yeah, I get it, this is the WMS systems rules list, and those rules would be in here if my SCM mobile, upgrade was to 2026.1. In this system, they're not, and this isn't even a release preview visual, but it is going to be the WMS systems rules list where those rules will appear once your upgrade is completed, or in your release preview. So moving on. Let's see, I think, yeah, we're going to now let CJ continue on with the webinar, and then I'll pick up back at the end. So thanks, CJ. Go for it.
All right. Thanks, Travis. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Go ahead and share my screen here, and we'll keep moving. Okay. With the 2026.1 update, there is going to be the inclusion of the use of standard costed items on transfer orders. So if you are currently using transfer orders or intercompany transfer orders in your environment, then you likely are familiar with the use item cost as transfer cost field. This did not apply to standard costed items prior to the update. However, this will be the case going forward in 2026.1. So when this is set, it will set the item's transfer cost to that standard cost that is associated with the item record. And this will ensure that the accurate cost differences are getting posted to your purchase price variance accounts. And this will in turn ensure more accurate financial reporting on those with regards to those transfer orders. Included in this update are also advanced pricing rules. So this is a new feature that is going to exist with this update, where you're able to create price rules in NetSuite. And what those allow you to do is automatically apply price levels to sales transactions based on specific criteria. So some of that criteria can be customers, items, or date ranges. Each price rule can have you can specify the rule name and description, the price level, the start and end dates, and the customers or customer groups. This can either be a static list of customers that you define, or a dynamic list that's driven by a search that has a set of criteria that will allow for certain customers to either appear or not appear in that list. So for example, you can create a price rule that applies to a specific price level to all widget sales that take place in March for a specific customer. So when a sales transaction is created, that price level is going to get automatically applied to any transaction that meets that criteria, rather than having to rely on a user to specify that when entering the sales transaction themselves. Bank import scheduling. So if you are connecting your bank data, associating bank accounts with NetSuite, then you are probably familiar with this to some degree. If you do not, this is a feature that NetSuite has, where you have the ability to link your bank accounts with the system, and then on a daily basis, you can bring in those bank account transactions to the system, which you can then in turn reconcile with your transactions in NetSuite, and then reconcile with your monthly bank statement. There is now a sub-tab on the profile for each bank account that's going to allow here the rate at which the data from your bank accounts is being brought into the system. So each connected bank profile, now you can actually specify a unit of time for when a refresh on that data occurs, what time of day, and the frequency of import. So if your bank supports that and it's capable of updating multiple times per day, you now have the flexibility to do that. Also, if you are setting up your bank account for the first time, you can specify the start date for importing transactions from a bank account. And this is big because then you don't have historical transactions coming over from prior to when your NetSuite instance went live, that you're going to have to search through when you're reconciling transactions or excluding these bank transactions so you're not having to see them. So you can specify a start date, and then anything going forward from that start date will be brought in, and anything prior to that will not be considered. If you've joined some of these webinars in the past, then you have probably heard us talk about the ways in which NetSuite is leveraging AI in order to help increase reporting, ease of use, and data visibility in the system. And this is another feature that they're rolling out in 2026.1, and this is payment date prediction for invoices. So this is a feature that you can enable within the system. And once you do so, there will be fields included on invoice records that will show you a predicted payment date, predicted payment overdue days, predicted payment date predicted payment last date. And all of these are system generated. So using machine learning, the system will take a look at the customer's payment history, and then make a determination of when to expect a payment date for the invoices or whatever invoice record that you are looking at in NetSuite. If you are querying any sort of address subrecords in the system or searching those via UI, now the NetSuite in the 2026.1 update, NetSuite will only show the relevant addresses for the parent record for which those subrecords are associated. So if you're taking a look at those after the update, then you should notice that these result sets will be much smaller and more precise when viewing, as you will not have any address subrecords that are not associated with that parent record displaying. It is worth mentioning, if you have integrations that relied on unfiltered address results, you may need to review and adjust that logic, especially if the logic assumed cross-entity visibility, or in other words, if it assumed the ability to see between subsidiaries within NetSuite. And finally, there are now new options for image compression in the Inventory Management Suite app. So if you are using that Suite app and you have users that are taking images from a device and uploading them, you now have the ability to specify how that's being handled, and the system can either compress that by file size, so anything greater than 10 megabytes will automatically be compressed down to 10 megabytes, or this can be done by image size. So anything larger in one dimension by 600 pixels will be brought down to that 600 pixel maximum. And it's important to note that that also preserves the aspect ratio. So when that dimension is reduced, the corresponding dimension is reduced to preserve that original ratio. So again, just a nice quality of life feature that they're adding, so you don't have to rely on the user to resize their images or go back and resize these images to maintain more space in your file cabinet. And from here, I will hand it back over to Travis for a Q&A.
Earlier, I went through the question regarding just where in WNS were the rules. If you do have any specific questions, please ask them now. Otherwise, you'll see here towards the end, we just have a couple more slides. You can always reach out to us. Contact information will be here at the end, and anything that you need. And if you're already working with one of us here at Protelo, please reach out specifically either to myself, CJ, or anyone who you're working with if you have some additional questions. Especially with 2026.1 release, I think the release preview, as I beat that down on the beginning, that if you have an opportunity, but do take it. It's to your advantage to use that release preview system. If you need help with it, navigating in and getting in there and setting stuff up, let us know in that regard too. So I think there is a raise of hand.
There's a question in the
Is there a question?
So someone asked, could you please let me know when we could have the new release quiz to maintain our certifications?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that right now. I think we have that individual's name. We can reach out to you and let you know as a follow-up to this webinar. We'll do that. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, one more. Take a look here. Question is it possible to override the AI-generated predicted payment dates on invoices? No, that's not possible. However, when you enable that predicted payment feature in NetSuite, you will have it will also add a couple of fields that allow you to enter like a user estimated prediction date that you're able to report on in case you have those customers or invoices that you know aren't going to conform to that AI generated prediction date. So you do have that option available.
Anything you think of, just reach out to us. I'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. Thank you very much for attending. We do have a poll at the end. And if you didn't have an opportunity to take the one in the beginning, please stick around for this one. Just take a few minutes. Again, we use these. We greatly appreciate your input, and it helps balance us out when we come back to do a webinar or a podcast. So thank you again, everybody, for joining. And reach out to us anytime.